European cooperation on occupational exposure levels. Chemical substances are everywhere, and hence workers use them at their workplace. However, some substances pose risks because they're carcinogenic. During this conference, we focus on these carcinogens. There are more than 1,000 classified carcinogens, which cause 80,000 deaths per year in Europe. The good news is that there are ways to prevent work-related cancer, and have imposed laws that require employers to do so as far as technically possible. The order of preference is substituting the substance with a less dangerous one, preventing and reducing exposure through source enclosure or using closed systems, and lastly, minimizing exposure as much as possible by wearing personal protective equipment. But how can employers assess these risks? An important instrument we have at our disposal is Occupational Exposure Limits, or OELs. An OEL defines the maximum level of a particular substance in the workplace to ensure the health of employees and their offspring during the employee's entire working life. This limit is based on current scientific knowledge. OELs increase corporate and employee awareness of the chemical risks present in the workplace. OELs are instrumental in determining exposure in the workplace and in developing effective prevention measures. Employers can use OELs to prioritize the order in which carcinogenic substances need to be addressed. And finally, while OELs are not enforceable, a derived OEL called a Binding Occupational Exposure Limit, or BOEL, is enforceable. This is the minimum protection level member states have to implement in their regulations. Europe facilitates employers and employees to establish a safe occupational situation by creating more BOELs. The Carcinogens and Mutagens Directive, CMD, provides the legal framework for setting binding levels for carcinogens. Determining the European carcinogenic BOELs requires several steps and the collaboration of various parties. The EU Commission has appointed a scientific committee on occupational exposure limits, SCOEL. The European Commission has drafted a working plan for SCOEL. SCOEL will determine the exposure-risk relationship. This step involves public consultation. The Working Party on Chemicals discusses the SCOEL recommendation and various feasibility issues and comes up with a suggested OEL, which is then incorporated into a draft opinion forwarded for endorsement to the Advisory Committee on Safety and Health. The next step is to carry out an impact assessment commissioned by DG Employment of the European Commission to test the practical feasibility of the proposed BOEL. The Commission drafts the final impact assessment and submits it to the Regulatory Scrutiny Board, RSB. After approval from the RSB, the College of Commissioners will decide on the proposal. The College of Commissioners then forwards the proposal to the Council and Parliament for adoption. After adoption, the Council and Parliament publish the BOEL in the EU Official Journal. We now have a new BOEL under the CMD. We are now moving forward and will accelerate the process and increase the number of carcinogens with a BOEL at EU level. Later in this session, we will invite you to participate in a number of breakout groups so we can learn from each other about and discuss some of the ideas and themes we present you with. A limit value is a helpful tool to manage the risks of carcinogens in the workplace. Our cooperation today will inspire us all to increase the number of EU limit values.